right, let's get straight back to Cairo. Ben Wiedemann, we actually got connection with him via satellite. Ben, you were not able to go live for many hours because of social media and satellites being shut down. How did you get this live shot up and running?
I think it's better not to tell you the tricks of the trade at the moment, given that the Egyptian authorities are really cracking down on everything, cutting cell phones, cutting the internet. But actually, Kira, I don't know if you can see it clearly, but on the right-hand side of the road down there is what looks like an army vehicle. What we saw just a little while ago were two other army armored personnel carriers full of soldiers. Now let me explain to you why this is important. The Egyptian army has always been kept to a minimum when it comes to trying to impose public order. The last time they were brought into the streets was in 1985, when police, ironically, were rioting and looting parts of town. They brought the army in. So this is the first time since 1985 that we see Egyptian army soldiers on the street. Many people respect the army for its role in defending the country as opposed to cracking down on popular unrest. And certainly this represents something of a potentially important significance, although Egyptian officials, who I have to tell you these days aren't exactly being very useful in terms of providing information, have said that they may be being deployed simply to protect public buildings. But we have no idea why they've been brought into the streets. But if the army's been brought into play, that is quite significant. But Kira, in the meantime, if we just pan the camera over to the bridge, that's the 6 October bridge, the main bridge coming into the heart of Cairo. What you see is on the right-hand side, hundreds of protesters who've been trying to reach the heart of the city. They're being driven back by an armored personnel carrier that looks like it's just been hit by a Molotov cocktail. You see the fire rising above it, and now the crowd is running through the tear gas going in the direction of that armored personnel carrier. It's been a battle back and forth. Now you see that truck is retreating, and another Molotov cocktail being thrown at it. It appears that this is nothing short, Kira, of a battle in this city between the government and thousands and thousands of unhappy Egyptians.
And Ben, as we continue to watch these live pictures, you were telling me just about 30 minutes ago, you've been covering this region for a long time. You have never witnessed anything like this. And I was saying, as many live shots as I've tossed to you in the past 13 years, we've never witnessed anything like this. And so what's your sense of what could happen here? I was talking with Ambassador Edward Derejan. He's actually still with us. He's monitoring these live pictures as well. And he was saying just the fact that the military was being brought in is a huge sign that this is escalating and getting worse. And what happens, Ben, if indeed Mubarak falls?
Yeah, we don't know what's going on in terms of what's going to happen next, but I can tell you I heard what sounded like several live rounds being fired on that bridge in the direction of the protesters. And when live rounds come out, it means that the situation is escalating seriously. Nobody knows. I went out to dinner with friends overlooking this river just near here on Monday night, and everything looked calm and quiet. Not quiet, this is Cairo, but life looked normal. And in the space of just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 days, this city, this country has been shaken by an earthquake, overrun by a tsunami, so to speak, of developments that nobody anticipated. So given that, I would be wildly insane to try to predict what is going to happen next. But here you have a good shot of what appears to be a disabled army armored personnel carrier. So I don't think they're going to be able to do much in this situation.
And what's interesting is that the reports that have been coming out have been censored in so many ways. And so your live pictures, the fact that you're able to be out there on the streets and call into us, we're getting a much clearer picture of what's taking place. And Ben, you were really stressing the point that protesters have been peaceful, correct? And that it's the police that you have observed observed that have been rushing into the crowds and sort of taking charge and creating a lot of this violence, right?
By and large, what we've seen is that people will be protesting peacefully, chanting, singing, and whatnot, and then they're set upon by the police and by their plainclothes elements as well. But people have been telling me that the harder, the more vicious and violent the government becomes with the protesters are going to start to respond in kind. And what we saw on live TV was that they are starting to throw Molotov cocktails back at the police. We know that in the Sinai, in the Sinai Peninsula, some of the people there have used rocket-propelled grenades to fire at the police. So the great majority of the protesters are peaceful, but there's no guarantee that some of them aren't going to start to take matters into their own hands by using violence. Kira?
Ben Wiedemann, live for us there in Cairo. We're going to keep checking in with you. Also, Ambassador Edward Jerejian with us as well, joining us live out of Houston. He's the director of the Baker Institute at Rice University. We will keep following these live pictures, staying on top of this story, and talking about what it means for the U.S. and U.S.-Egyptian relations. More from the CNN Newsroom straight ahead.